you for coming, and especially a nice round of applause for our band, the Central Middle School Band, conducted by Jason Freeland. Thank you so much. A happy Veterans Day to each and every one of you. And at this time, I'd like everyone to please silence all your electronic devices, put them on mute. As we begin our program, we're going to present the colors. Detail. Present colors.
Forward. Up. Time. Mark. Right. Pace. Prepare to post national colors. Post national colors. Appreciate. Hard.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hard. Right. Hey. Forward. Hard.
Please be seated.
Halt.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to Tinley Park's Veterans Day ceremony. And sometimes we even get the weather to cooperate with us. Sometimes not so much. But I promised my wife that I would never complain about the weather again after I came back from Iraq. The hottest it got there was 154. So I don't care about the cold. It's all right with me. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dominic Sanfilippo. He's the assistant to the mayor. The mayor couldn't be here today, but in lieu of his presence, Dominic has been gracious enough to go ahead and pass his message on to us. So Dominic, would you please?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wiley. On behalf of the mayor, I want to welcome all the residents of the village of Tinley Park, our commissioners, our elected officials. I saw Trustee Diane Galante, Trustee William Brennan, Trustee Cindy Berg, our staff, our first responders, and veterans from all walks of life and multiple generations here to celebrate today. 101 years ago today, at 5:45 in the morning, on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice was signed, ending the Great War, a brutal war that separated families across this earth. And that fragile peace has remained for 101 years, largely due to efforts across the world and efforts of veterans in the United States of America. And we now celebrate that as Veterans Day. Veterans Day is a special place in the village of Tinley Park with our active Veterans Commission. And on behalf of the mayor, I want to give a special shout out to Major Wiley Roberts here, who has been the chair for about 14 years of the Veterans Commission. This will be his last time around helping organize these efforts as he's moving on from his post. So can we get a special round of applause? Again, the mayor could not be here due to work obligations, but he wants to extend his deepest sincerity and thanks and gratitude to all the veterans and families of veterans who are here today. Martin Luther King said that if a person doesn't find what they will die for, they can't really live. And veterans know exactly what they would give the ultimate sacrifice for, and many have, on behalf of the freedoms and the ability for ourselves to be neighbors to one another. and neighbors to a globe that needs American leadership. So on behalf of the mayor, on behalf of all our staff at the Village of Tinley Park, I want to say thank you for being here again today. And I'm going to stop and be brief because it's very cold and we have a lot more exciting things to get to. Have a happy Veterans Day and be neighbors to each other on behalf of those who serve every day for us to live our lives. I now want to introduce our chaplain, Bill Berkeley, from Tinley Park KWVA, Chapter 23, who's going to do an invocation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let us remember before our God today those who sacrificed during times of war in order that we might have liberty and freedom and security. Veterans both living and dead who fought on land, in the air, and on the water. We pray for those who fought a good fight and finished the course. On this day, we call to remembrance those who have served in far-off places and have laid down their arms to march into that land of eternal peace. We are indeed grateful for their service and their sacrifice. Keep sacred all of their sacrifices in our hearts. Keep holy our course in your sight, the peace of our nation and the tranquility of the world. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, this is going to be easy because guess who the guest speaker is? That would be me. All right. We don't have to wait for somebody to come up those stairs, okay? Okay, and just to start this day off, I have a secretary in my Veterans Commission, and Norman is right back there taking pictures of me right now. And he said that many are cold, but few are frozen. So we wanted to start this off with that. I love those quotes. I'm a veteran. I am because it's in my DNA. My grandfather was a World War I vet, and he fought in Belleau Woods. My father was a submariner in World War II, and he was in Guadalcanal, stationed out of Okinawa. My Uncle Wiley, that name sounds familiar, he served in World War II on a destroyer in the Pacific. My Uncle Joe served in World War II on a carrier, Joe Malott. And my other Uncle Joe, Joe Damitz, and his brother, they lost most of their hearing at the Battle of the Bulge under Patton's command. My Uncle Jack served with the 101st Airborne of Iraq, who landed on Corregidor. And he was the last man standing from his battalion. My brother served during Vietnam. He was an MP stationed in Savannah, Illinois. And I just want to let you know not one Vietnamese plane ever passed over Savannah, Illinois. One of my best friends, Jerry Johnson, he was actually my brother and my babysitter when we were young. He was like 3 years older than us in high school. And my brother and I were a little bit of a wild child combination. So there were actually 6 guys from high school that took care of us and babysat us while my dad and mother ended up going out for an occasional meal. Jerry served with the 82nd Airborne, and he made 25 jumps over Vietnam. On his last jump, his platoon was ambushed, and Jerry lost his eye to gunfire. Fire opened up on the right, and then fire opened up on the left, and the whole battalion scattered. And he also got shot in the leg as well, but his buddy got gut shot. So Jerry carried him back to camp. He died in Jerry's arms. Jerry remembers them injecting him with morphine, and he told me that he never remembered his time at Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii. That was 3 days he was there. He came to at Walter Reed with a good-looking glass eye. I was the first person that Jerry ever notified when he came and returned to our hometown. During that time, my number in the draft was 289. That's kind of low. A good friend of mine from the next community, his number was 16. He got called right away. But I went in and I started studying pre-med biology at the University of Pittsburgh. I wanted to be a doctor. Then I decided that doctors are on call 24 hours a day, and that's a bad schedule to go into. So a good friend of mine who was a nurse anesthesiologist, she said, why don't you go into nursing? And I said, well, how long does that take? And she goes, well, like 2.5 years. I said, okay, I like that time frame because it would have taken me a long time to get to be a doctor. So I went through a small program at Ohio Valley General Hospital, and I became a diploma nurse. I also was playing in a band. I was kind of musically talented, and my parents, they forced me to take 4 years of private lessons, and I was a clarinetist at the time, and I told the band this. Then I taught myself how to play sax and flute. So I was in a rock and roll band from age 14. I was playing out professionally. And then Jerry told me, he said, if they ever call your number, Wiley, start learning how to sing "Oh Canada." Well, the war ended, and I was playing in the band, and I changed my major like I told you, but while I was playing in the band, I went out to a discotheque on a night that we weren't playing, and there was a pretty young gal at the side of the dance floor, and I introduced myself, and I said, would you like to dance? And she said, well, no, not really. And I said, well, are you just watching people dance? She goes, yeah. I says, I've got a great place for you to see all this dancing that's going on. So I took her by the hand and I got her on the dance floor. And we danced that night away. And we fell in love. And I found out that she was a Canadian. So part of Jerry's dream for me occurred. And then Gulf War broke out. And I decided there's something missing from my life. Something that I need to be able to tell my grandchildren and my children. And I made the decision that Gulf War was going to be the time where I ended up making a commitment. So I said, I looked into it, and there were some people who were friends of mine who brought their troops to my operating room. And I ended up teaching them how to do operations. And all these kids, and I call them kids because I was much older even then, they were paying attention so well. And I told my friend, who was at the time a major, I said, this is probably the best teaching experience I've ever had. I said, these guys are asking questions the correct way. They're interested, they're paying attention. I said, that was awesome. He said, how would you like to do that on a more permanent basis? So I ended up becoming a captain in the Air Force Reserve out of O'Hare. And that major who created my interest in the reserves became a lieutenant colonel. Then he became a full bird colonel. And he was just about 2 months away from being a one-star, and he ended up retiring. But he was one of my first mentors, and that was Clyde Rocky. When I took the oath of office, the very first person I called was Jerry Johnson. And I said, Jerry, you're not going to believe what I just did. He goes, what? And I said, well, I just swore my allegiance to the country, and I became a captain in the Air Force Reserve. And if Jerry would have told me that that was stupid, I probably would have tried to figure out a way out of it, but I didn't. He told me, you'll make a good officer. And that meant more to me than anything. My dad told me when we were being raised, if you're going to be a ditch digger, be a good ditch digger. Be the best that you can be. And when I went into nursing, I wanted to be the best nurse that I could be. But being the best nurse that I could be meant that I was so busy that I didn't have a chance to go back to school and earn my degree. It was a big mistake. And all you people back there, you pay attention. You go ahead, and if you want to move a little bit forward, more forward than you ever thought you could, make sure you finish your schooling, okay? And I became probably the best paid diploma nurse that you've ever seen. And I became respected in communities of nursing where I sat across from doctorate nurses and master's degree prepared nurses, and we were talking about issues, and they were listening to me. And I thought, that's pretty cool. You don't need a degree behind your name in order to be listened to, but you need to think common sense. So bringing common sense to everything within my life was something that my dad taught me as well. When I was going through my career in the military, I ended up moving from being a captain to a major, and it took a bit of work, and it took a lot of mentors. And some of those mentors have passed, but I'll never forget them. Like James L. Harris. James Harris told me how to be an officer. He told me, here we go with the train. He's right, guys. He told me that being a good officer meant you didn't eat until your people ate, and you didn't sleep until your people slept. And their job is to make sure that you're well fed and you get to bed early. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And then a young man named Bernard Harris, a young black man who was a master sergeant, taught me more about being an officer. My very first annual tour in the reserves was to Yokota Air Force Base in Japan. And Bernard told me, he said, Captain Roberts at the time, he says, I want you to do me a favor. And I says, yeah, what can I do for you, Bernard? And he goes, let me do my job. He says, don't try to micromanage me, and don't be breathing down my neck. Just let me do my work, and if I'm doing something wrong, then you can go ahead and talk to me. But until then, just let me do my work. And I said, that's probably the smartest thing anybody's ever told me. He says, don't work so hard, but work smart. Bernard and I, during that tour, we ended up doing what's called hop flights. We'd get on a C-130 at Yokota Air Force Base, and we'd island hop. We'd go to Guam, and we'd go to Okinawa, and we'd go to Korea, and we'd pick up patients, and we'd go ahead and transport them back to Yokota, where we flew them over to Travis Air Force Base in California. When we were in Okinawa, I told Bernard, I said, Bernard, I know I'm an invited medical attendant here, but come hell or high water, I'm getting off this plane and I'm putting my feet on Okinawa soil, because that's where my dad served. And I did. I got off that plane and I went and I accompanied my patients into the hangar. And I said, okay, I've done what I promised myself to do. He's on my bucket list. And I turned around, and as I was heading back towards the plane, a tech sergeant stopped me and said, excuse me, Captain, you can't get back on that plane. I said, excuse me? He says, yeah, you're not on the manifest. And I went, you better check that manifest again, because I'm not going to be stuck here in Okinawa. And Bernard and I were ready to go ahead and spend $90 on a hotel room and stay overnight until they ironed it all out. But thankfully, the pilot off that 130 came in and he said, you let these guys back in. And they said, oh, okay. So I guess pilots, they know how to move the earth, right? But that was on my bucket list, and I was able to do that. I am a veteran because I was deployed twice. And being deployed, there's one thing about being deployed that each and every veteran who's ever done that knows. It moves your soul because you have to say goodbye to your family. and you don't know if you're coming back. And you can't tell them where you're going, because number one, you probably don't know yourself. But number two, even if you did, you couldn't tell them because you want them to be safe while you're going. But the important thing to know about being a veteran is when you join and you raise your hand and you say your oath of office, that you become part of another family. And that's why we refer to ourselves as brothers and sisters in arms. And when you're ready to leave your wife and kids, there's another family with open arms. They're ready to accept you. But they know that there's only one thing that locks you all together, and that's your mission. And you get that mission done, and then each and every one gets to return to your family. Our job necessitated that we moved. My wife's job got transferred from Pittsburgh, where I grew up and born and raised, to Chicago. And I, being a nurse, I tagged along for the ride. And now that we're both retired, we're going to make another move, and we're planning on moving to Tennessee, just because we both fell in love with it. But that means that I have to turn over the reins to one of the other team members that I have on my commission. And for right now, I'd like to recognize each and every one of my commission members in the audience today. Signify by raising your hand or standing up. You're on my Veterans Commission, and I'm very proud of all the efforts that you do. Give them a round of applause. All right, now I come to kind of an important one, because during my tenure here in Tinley Park, and I've fallen in love with you people, whether you like it or not. During my tenure in Tinley Park's Veteran Commission, I was a regular commissioner, and that was during the time when Brigadier General Pat Ray was our village clerk. And when a Brigadier General tells you what to do, then you pay attention, right? So he wanted me to be on the commission, and I said, okay, I'd be honored, so I was. Shortly thereafter, we had a change of command, and our chairman of the commission ended up stepping down. And General Ray came up to me and said, you know what you need to do is you need to step into that role. And I said, well, I appreciate all the confidence, but it's a big commitment. He says, well, you'll be able to handle it. So I like that idea of somebody having faith in me. So I went ahead and did it. And that was some 14 years ago. During that time, how many people remember the Yellow Ribbon program? All right, we were able to do that with the help of the late Colleen Simon. We did welcome homes and packages for deployed troops, of which I was one of the recipients. When I was in Iraq in 2003 as a commissioned member, I received a package over there, and I said, when I came back, I got a welcome home, and Mayor Zabraki at the time gave me a gift and welcomed me back, and it was very moving. I had my family and friends there and co-workers, and I said, I'm going to give back to the community. So we supported military families as well, because we realized that that was a concern. When any veteran deploys, their family members deploy with them. And they need your help as well. But members of military families are a little proud to be asking for assistance, so sometimes you got to coax them a little bit. Our commission was also involved in Loyalty Day, Memorial Day, Armed Services Day, 4th of July, All-Service Breakfast, Veterans Day, participation of our commission in Tinley parades, establishment of Brigadier General Patrick Ray's Plaza here, the Veterans Plaza with the Heroes Walk, the benches honoring our fine service organizations, Veterans Parkway and the Blue and Gold Star Memorial Flag Memorial, along with plans for future static displays of military equipment, and I'll get to that in a minute. The redesign and the rededication of Veterans Park recently. We've continued our support and participation in Discover Tinley and the Tinley Park Christmas Market, the Patriots Pen and Voice of Democracy scholarship programs, our veterans meeting and speaking at high schools and places of local worship regarding flag etiquette and freedom. We created and presented a plaque to Andrew High School's flagpole at the newly designed sports field. We provided honor guards for and eulogized our veterans at their funerals and attended burials at Abraham Lincoln Cemetery. Our flag program for Tinley Park veterans continues to be a proper tribute to a vibrant program. We have those flags sent and they're flown over the Capitol when they return with a certificate and fly them here in Tinley to create our own certificate. Those certificates and the flag are presented to the loved ones and those left behind. An outstanding volunteerism award is given to a civilian organization that supports our veterans. This year we presented it at an all-service breakfast to Maher Funeral Home. Every year during our Veterans Day ceremony, we also present the Colonel David Seaman Recognition Award. This award is presented to an individual who exemplifies support for our Tinley Park veterans as well as those in surrounding communities. This year, I am honored to present this award to Command Sergeant Major Fred Cagle. His bio is extensive and it's included in your programs, so please join me in thanking Fred Cagle for his continued support for veterans.
I'd like to thank the Major. This wasn't a individual thing. This was all the organizations, the American Legion, the VFW, the Veterans Commission. We all worked hard to accomplish everything that the Major just spoke of. Okay, but without boring anyone with details, I was given a life-changing choice at the age of 17 to go into the military or go into reform school. Yeah, they used to do that. I am eternally grateful to the judge for seeing something in me that day I had to be on my constructive path. My life would probably be completely different today. Not that I didn't go kicking and screaming. I hated the military. Couldn't wait to get my tour done in Vietnam and get back on the block with my friends. Over time, and I wasn't even aware of it, something changed. The military just grew on me. My commander pushed me, challenged me, and they all became a family, as the Major spoke of. I never would have thought that day in the court that I would make the United States Army my career and home. It has been the longest commitment to date, 32 years, I served. Although my marriage is coming up on it, and I wouldn't change one day of that career. And if my old ass could get up at old dark 30 like I used to and push truth, I would love it. So when I say this country offers a limitless opportunity to everyone, lower income, street punk, even rednecks like me, and I am that poster boy that you see. Airborne, hoorah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergeant. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the guns went silent. What was once referred to as Armistice Day, we now call Veterans Day in honor of all veterans who have worn or still wear the cloth of our nation in defense of our freedom. Would you still rise as we present the raising of the colors?
Order. Ha!
I'd like to thank our team that's represented by our VFW and American Legion for performing our flag ceremony and the rifle salute. Veterans Day is also a time that we present artwork for display in public buildings. It's one of our missions. This year, we worked closely with the United States Air Force Band of Mid-America, based out of Scott Air Force Base. They created the first ever collage depicting how musicians can utilize their unique talent in the military. As a sign of our appreciation for the fine musicians from Central Middle School, Jason Freeland, please join me and accept this artwork on behalf of our Veterans Commission. Displayed down at your school, and what it depicts is the many different functions that the Band of Mid-America does. They have a jazz band and a symphony band and a rock band. They do a little bit of everything for everybody. And it's the first time that any community has ever reached out to them to do something like this. So Tinley Park makes history again. Wear it in good health, and thank you.
This is very much an honor, and we attribute to all the hard work of the students over there. They've been doing this year after year, and thank you, veterans, for all your service in the community at Tinley Park. Very much appreciated and will be displayed very proudly here at Central Middle School. Thank you.